Great. Thank you, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to the 2016 Pacifica City Council Candidates Forum on Environmental Issues. This forum is presented to you tonight by Pacifica's environmental family, and I'm Cindy Abbott and have the pleasure of currently serving as the board president of PEF. Pacifica's environmental family promotes the discovery of and caring for our wealth of natural resources. One of the ways that we achieve this is by providing nonprofit fiscal sponsorship to local projects that align to our mission. PEF and our projects help restore, protect, and beautify the environment, offer education on natural history, inspire stewardship and community, and with programs like tonight, we raise awareness of local environmental issues. I'd like to introduce and thank our other board members who are here with us this evening. Roy Ernst is going to be doing our timekeeping tonight. Here he is with the signs. Jim Kramer and Ann Cooney, past board member, are distributing and collecting question cards. We miss Margaret Goodale tonight, who is invaluable in the behind-the-scenes planning for the forum, but she had a car problem when returning from vacation. And we also thank past board chair Ian Butler for initiating the arrangements to tape the forum with PCT. And in fact, the forum is being taped, but it is also being shown live tonight on PCT Channel 26 Comcast. It will also be available on demand and will replay several times over the next several weeks. You can check the PCT website at pacificcoast.tv, and there is a tab that says Elections 2016, and you can see all the different forums that are taking place, and they're available on replay. So that's a bit of the logistics for the evening. Stephen Colbert coined the term truthiness. And in defining it, he stated that it used to be that everyone was entitled to their own opinion, but not their own facts. But that's not the case anymore. Facts matter not at all. Perception is everything. In a world filled with blogs and tweets, PEF thinks it's important to hear from our candidates for public office without filters or possible misstatement that can occur on social media. Our forum will begin tonight with 2-minute introductory statements from each candidate, and will conclude with each wrapping up their thoughts in 3 minutes. In between, there'll be a series of questions suggested by local community organizations. After these questions, and for as long as time permits, I'll pose the questions that you submit for the candidates and provide the opportunity for all to respond. Candidates will have up to 2 minutes each to reply to all questions. There are question cards that were in the back, and Jim and Ann have additional copies if you need one, and they will also come and pick them up for you and bring them to Sherry here to sort. The candidates are seated on the dais and will be making their remarks based on a random drawing of names conducted earlier this week. As you'll see, we have a couple people missing, and here's what happened. One candidate is unable to be here. Marianne Nyhart is attending a scheduled meeting of the San Mateo County Transportation Authority on which she serves. She will try to be here if the meeting ends, but in addition to the regularly scheduled meeting, they added a closed meeting session after that. The meeting is in San Carlos, and she will try to get here. For opening statements, we have Peter Menard, who will be making a statement for her, and we'll hope that she'll arrive on time. Sue Vaterlas has unfortunately become ill and let us know shortly before the meeting that she would not be able to be here. If she shows up, we'll be delighted, but at this time I don't think that she will because she can't talk, and that would be hard to take part in a forum. Let's see here, I got out of order. Okay. I'll now start the opening remarks, though we will be going back and forth then between the candidates, and we will start with opening remarks right now for 2 minutes. Roy again has the timekeeping cards, so watch there for the 30-second and stop timing, and we'll start with opening remarks right now from candidate Martin.
Great, thank you all for coming tonight. I like seeing so many familiar faces. Thanks to all the community leaders and all the unsung heroes that the PEF helps out. And so I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks to the PEF for hosting. So many of you have heard my story over and over again, so I'm going to try to make it real quick. 5-year commissioner with the Parks, Beaches, and Rec. I'm a little bit comfortable up here. I hope you are not noticing that. But I also work for a long time with the Pacifica Beach Coalition. I'm the site captain at Sharp Park Cleanups. We've got one this Saturday, 9 o'clock. I'd love to see you all there at the berm. I also work with the Pacifica Climate Committee. So I'm surrounded by people with a lot of passion for this environment, not just our natural environment, but our human environment. Never have I felt so much a part of a community as I have when in 2014, my husband and I lost our daughter, and we were so surrounded by our community. We knew we were in the right place, which is why I believe in community taking care of community. Fair rents for Pacifica, Pacificans for Highway 1 alternative, widening alternatives. We are one with our government, and we need to foster open communications and transparency, have study sessions like we did for sea level rise. I'd love to see more of that. I want to thank the city for that. So I have an 11-month-old. I want her to grow up in a Pacifica where she believes that her voice counts and her actions make a difference like mine do. I want to thank the San Mateo County Democrats for their endorsement. I want to thank the Sierra Club for their endorsement. And I want to thank you all for your support. I got checks for $20, $30, $40. We totaled almost $14,000. We had a couple big ones, but your neighbors are all the folks who helped make this happen. It's not my campaign, it's our campaign. So thank you, and I hope you like what you hear tonight.
Great, thank you. By the way, while we had some applause at the beginning, we'll ask, as it happened with other forums, to hold your applause until the end. And we'll thank our candidates for their public service and for volunteering for that at this time.
Hi, my name is Bridget Duffy. My family has lived called Pacifica home for nearly 4 decades. I have wandered quite a bit during that time, but am here home in Pacifica and enjoying it very much. Why am I running for city council is, I think, the question most people are asking. I'm running, I don't have a lot of endorsements, I don't have any money. I am a person who is concerned about our country, about our city. I started becoming a government watchdog a few years back. I attend lots of council meetings, water district meetings, Board of Education meetings. I've kind of just made it a habit to make it my business to check in and see what is happening in our local government. And through the course of that, I have decided to run for city council. I feel like I have something to offer Pacifica. I have a good sense of who we are here, but I also have been gone and come back, and I see what oftentimes is missed by the people that are living in a situation. We have a beautiful, beautiful city here, all kinds of potential. I feel like it has been sadly neglected, and at this point is in danger of a lot of development, which is pending, and that is why I'm running. I would like to keep Pacifica's nature preserved. I would like to establish renters' rights, and I would like to save our current local city neighborhood libraries. Thank you.
Okay. Peter Menard for Marianne Neihart.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Peter Menard, and I'm briefly representing Marianne Neihart tonight, as she's busy representing Pacifica and the rest of the coast at the San Mateo County Transportation Authority. Here are her words. So when I say I, it's Marianne. Our coastline, hills, and open space are critical elements in what make up the core of what we call Pacifica. As a community, many of us have worked diligently to preserve and protect what we hold dear. While a member of the Pacifica City Council, I was able to see the styrofoam ban to completion, work with others in San Mateo County to ban plastic bags, and garner funding for our stormwater outfall trash capture devices. All of this with an aim to avoid adding the horrible pollution to our oceans. Stormwater became an advocacy point for me at the state level, as transportation projects could also include stormwater capture for landscaping through storage and use in drought. Yet two funding silos exist without regard for each other. I have worked hard as the chair of the San Mateo City and County Association of Governments, CCAG, to move those funding sources into alignment as each transportation project moves forward. Stormwater management is only one critical element of the Water Task Force, which I have chaired for the past 16 months. This Water Task Force is making recommendations to the full CCAG board about how the 20 cities and county of San Mateo move forward to address sea level rise, floods, and stormwater management. We must assure that San Mateo works together, as what affects one of us affects us all. I took the lead in forming this task force. We also want to enjoy our outdoors. We have for years been working towards completion of the Coastal Trail. Several years ago, I approached the Land Trust to discuss the second priority conservation area designation in our community. The designations and regional planning through the Association of Bay Area Governments allow our community to apply for more grant applications to fund the Coastal Trail connection to the Devil's Slide County Park. I'm probably going to run out of time, and I still have like a paragraph left. If she's not here,
do that in the wrap-up.
during closing. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, on to our first question. Many Pacificans agree that our greatest asset is our natural environment. We also agree that financial stability and sustainability is critical for our city. How do you view the balance between protecting our natural environment with the need for successful economic development? Specifically, what sort of economic development, if any, do you favor, and where might it be located? And we will start with Bridget Duffy.
Yes, our nature to me is our gold. I think that people come here because of the wide open spaces, because of the ocean, because of the beaches, and to preserve those things, I think, is of the utmost importance to our economic embetterment. We have a tourist business that is not even necessarily from around the world, but around the Bay Area. We are where the many Bay Areas come. They come right over the hill. They want to be here for a week. It's called a stay vacation or staycation. And what I have noticed from talking to the many people I have met along the beach is that they feel as though there's not much for them to do or buy or when they get here. And to me, I think that rather than develop the open places, we have plenty of commercial space. We have neglected areas all over the city that could be improved, that could, with a little bit of thought, put into the configuration of what stores are put together. I think that it would be very simple to put a little bit of time and effort into the arrangement of our businesses, the quality of our businesses, helping our businesses do better, giving them more exposure to the people that are actually coming to our city, would all improve our economy. And in other regards, I definitely believe in keeping the money in Pacifica, keeping our economy a local economy. When one spends $1 at a local store, 75 cents of that dollar goes back into our community. When one spends $1 at a big corporate store, 25 cents comes back to our community. And so it's important for us to start feeding our local businesses.
Thank you. Candidate Martin?
So many of you have heard this before, but our economy is our environment. I think most of you would probably agree here. People come from far and wide to enjoy our beaches. I see that all the time because I run the beach cleanups. I'm at the beach all the time. People come from San Jose. They come from further than the East Bay to clean our beach, and then they eat here, or they go for a hike, and then they eat here, or they want to go see an art gallery, and then they eat here. So how do we capitalize on that? What else are they doing? They're looking out of the ocean, and we've got whales, right? There was a really great idea this year, hosted by a bunch of people in this room, to put on a big whale expo, right? Why are the whales here in Pacifica? How do we capitalize on things like that, right? How do we capitalize on our environment? Probably by working with the chamber a little bit closer, making sure that our trails are publicized and popular. PB&R did a really neat thing where they did a little quiz along our coastal trail. How do we get that out, right? So I think really just being a good steward to our environment and making sure that we're working with the right organizations, GGNRA, to capitalize on that.
Great, thank you. The next question. The City of Pacifica Climate Action Plan was adopted in July of 2014. The plan was designed to be a blueprint for our response to the challenges posed by climate change. At the most recent September 26 City Council meeting, a report on progress towards the goals in the plan was presented, and a 30-day public comment period was opened to provide the opportunity for community input. Have you or will you be providing comment on the Climate Action Plan? If yes, please share what those thoughts are. And if you're not commenting, why not? We'll start this one with Deirdre Martin.
Great. So yeah, I was really interested to see that the city was providing an update on our climate action plan. I'm a member of the Pacifica Climate Committee, and it's not a city-sanctioned committee, but the city and the climate action, or the climate committee, should probably be working together more closely. Some of those things that were not implemented, like water conservation ordinance, our staff assignment, I think that just happened a few weeks ago, are a little bit outdated. So that was kind of a bummer to see. I'm very excited, though, about the things that are in it, and I will be commenting on things that I am excited about. And some of these things are probably get everybody here stoked, right? A bike and pedestrian committee, who wouldn't want to be on something like that, right? The climate committee has actually approached the city about that also. So, so let's get excited about that, and that's something that I'd like to see. Our transportation, that's a big one. And I think that it would be really nice to see the city working a little bit more closely with Samtrans. The Climate Committee has worked closely with Samtrans. They were super stoked to have heard from us and said, hey, where have you been all of our lives? We're working with them now to get an express bus back into the city. How do we get people from the back of the valley to the front of the valley to hop on a bus and lock their bike up and feel safe about that? So those are some of the things that I'd like to comment on, and I look forward to working more closely with the city as a climate committee, or as a climate committee member, and also a city council person.
Candidate Duffy.
Yes, I'm definitely going to be looking at the climate action plan. I'm looking forward to it. I was lucky enough to sit next to somebody who worked at it at the sea level rise forum that was put on by the city last week, which was, I think, an incredible start. I thought it was great. It definitely highlighted that many people do not understand what's going on with climate change and do not understand the impacts of sea level rise that we're threatened with. And it definitely should be something that continues to happen, because I think part of the problem in Pacifica is that there seems to be factions, and there really shouldn't be any factions considering what we're facing. We're facing what we're facing with sea level rise as a community. It's going to affect everybody. So we have to get out of the mindset that we have to protect our own assets or our own profits or potential profits, and start thinking of how we can look at this situation and take the resources that we do have and invest them into a plan that would, you know, keep us moving in the right direction for the future, which is a future that is very, at this point, very you know, we're just with the national elections and everything. I mean, who knows what's going on? I don't think anybody does, let's face it. And I think we have to pull together as a community to face the crises, the crises of a rising ocean and being a coastal city. So.
Thank you. Next question. On September 2nd, a federal court judge issued an order that the Highway 1 widening project in Pacifica was arbitrary and capricious, and that both Caltrans and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service violated the Federal Endangered Species Act. What actions do you think the City of Pacifica should now take with regard to congestion on Highway 1? And we'll start with candidate Duffy.
Well, I loved what Deidre said about the climate action plan that includes some information on transportation. To me, widening the highway is last century's solution to a traffic problem. There are many other solutions that we can look at, including changing the lights, upgrading the lights. Mass transit is something that is definitely something that we need to look at into the future. A light rail system, I think, would be a perfect match for that highway, and it would alleviate a lot of traffic and eliminate a lot of carbon being put into the air. It would fix a lot of problems in one fell swoop. And I think that the climate action plan actually touches on some of these things. I can't say for sure because I haven't looked into it yet, but from what I talked to a man that was sitting next to me, and it sounded like it hit on many, many points. The people on that committee spent 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, working on this plan, and it's quite intricate and worth looking at. Actually, it's on view, and everybody in Pacifica should probably give it a go to look it up on the website and comment on it, good, bad, or indifferent, right? At least let them know that we're paying attention and that we are concerned about the climate changes that we're looking at going through.
Right. Candidate Martin, what actions do you think the City of Pacifica should now take with regard to congestion on Highway 1?
Well, I was really excited about the stall in the plan because I'm opposed to the highway widening, but I am not opposed to alternatives because there is a traffic problem. And I think this is a really good opportunity for the city to start to really do a 21st century study on our traffic. One of the leaders in urban development stated in a book that if you build a bigger highway, the people will come, right? So that's not the answer. We have the answers. We just have to get there. A bunch of small little things, a bunch of little things probably is going to get us most of the way there, right? We talk about transportation. We don't really have many school buses. We can revisit that. Light timing. I think most of the people here would agree that we need to do a real study on that. Better transportation, a more bikeable, a more walkable Pacifica, and things that make it more appealing for somebody to want to use public transportation, like bike lockers. There's a really good example of a little girl that I know that rides her bike to the bus stop, but has to actually use the bike locker at the school down the street from the bus stop because the bus stop here in Pacifica doesn't have anything to lock her bike to. And I think that's a bummer. But she's still using public transportation, so that's great. So I think we just really need to study it.
Wonderful, thank you. The next one's going to take a little bit, so listen in on this question. Pacifica was splashed across the headlines this past winter with photographs and video documenting the impact of coastal erosion on residential dwellings. Surging waves dramatically crashing over the seawall in Sharp Park, and a sinkhole further showed the precariousness of living on the ocean's edge. In August 2015, the California Coastal Commission approved their sea level rise policy guidance. An overriding principle is to use science to guide decisions, and in doing so, to recognize and address sea level rise as necessary in all applicable planning and permitting decisions. As we know, Coastal Commission approval is required for any development activity in Pacifica west of Highway 1. The Commission in their guidance also notes, new and existing development, redevelopment, and repair and maintenance activities, as well as associated sea level rise adaptation strategies, should avoid or minimize impacts to coastal resources. Priority should be given to options that enhance and maximize coastal resources and access, including innovative nature-based approaches such as living shoreline techniques or managed/planned retreat. How to plan for sea level rise and an update to the Pacifica Local Coastal Program that guides land use development west of Highway 1 are works currently in progress in the city. As part of the discussion, the concept of managed or planned retreat has been raised. Managed retreat has created concerns among some Pacificans and seems to mean different things to different people. Please specifically state what the term means to you, where it might be needed to be considered in Pacifica, and when that might be. And we will start with candidate Morton.
Okay. That was a mouthful. So I used to live at the Bluffs at Esplanade. I've been subject to coastal erosion, my home. I lived around the block here, and I lived there for 4 years, and I got evacuated for the tsunami. So I've been at risk for water intrusion. I also run the monthly cleanups here at Sharp Park Beach, and 3 or 4 of our cleanups this year had to be moved a block inland because the sea had risen to a dangerous level where we couldn't have people meet us there. So this is something that is very close to me. I consider Sharp Park my beach. And I just want to make it clear, actually, that I do, loud and clear, support making sure that our homes and our infrastructure are protected here on Beach Boulevard. That is a hot topic right now. And I think there's been a little bit of discussion around my actual thought on that. But I also think that we really need to make sure that as our environment is our economy, we still have beaches to walk. And that means that we need to study each of our beaches. If you shore up one area, the water will go to another area. The Army Corps of Engineers did a study for a reason. There's real data out there. A lot of the data is outdated. And by the time we get the new data, it's also outdated. And I learned that in the study session this past week, which I was very thankful for. So I think if we have more of these study sessions, I think if we really get know more of the facts and less of the truthiness. So.
Candidate Duffy.
Managed retreat is something that I just learned about myself at a forum that the city put on about sea level rise about a few months back. When I went to the forum, I absolutely had it in my mind, of course we need a new seawall. It didn't even dawn on me that wouldn't be something that we would do. It was only through the course of the evening, listening to scientists, listening to the experts that were there that night, that they made it very clear that a seawall would eliminate our beach. A seawall is something that, again, is old technology. There are new ways to deal with diminishing the ocean's energy that could help. There's a lot of different things we could be looking at. The way it's being portrayed to Pacificans is that it is an abandonment of this area, and that the people who support a managed retreat would like to see the ocean come in and wipe everybody away. And that is absolutely not true. A managed retreat is something that has happened in Pacifica. Our Lindemar Beach had houses on it not too long ago, and the city decided to do a managed retreat. And granted, there's a lot more infrastructure here to protect, but at the same time, we have to think there's a lot more infrastructure that is at risk. And these are things that we need to think about. There's sewage treatment plants that are at risk, and the whole, basically the bottom line is it's a much more complicated issue than I thought it was, and it is going to take a concerted effort of the community and a lot of study and to manage this in a way that benefits our community in the long run.
We have one more question, so if there are additional topics that you'd like to have covered that we've not touched on already, please do give them to either Ann or Jim, and we'll have some time for that here before we conclude. So, question number 5. Pacificans are widely known for our lively community engagement. We realize that important decisions are in front of us, from addressing sea level rise and coastal erosion to transportation and land use challenges. We continue our historic debate on the type of community we envision and what level of growth and development does or doesn't fit with that vision. If you are elected to City Council, how do you personally plan on moving these sometimes contentious issues forward? How would you break down a perceived us versus them mentality, both within the community and between council members? And we'll start with candidate Duffy.
I'm a big advocate for getting the people involved. I think right now, as we face an election that is pivotal in our community, because basically we have 2 candidates that are being backed by the realtor, what is it, the National Association of Realtors. And so we have a realtor / developer sort of agenda on one end, and then we have an environmentalist, people-oriented agenda on the other. And I think that it's important for Pacifica to decide at this point which way are we going to go. If we continue to go in the same direction that we are heading, we will get there. And the end will be a Pacifica that's unrecognizable, in my opinion. I personally would love to see Pacifica shine for what it is, which is a small, quiet, beach, compassionate community of people. And I would like to see the people be able to stay here. We have a huge crisis on our hands with the high rents that is driving people out of our area in the droves. And between the rental crisis and the sea level rise, these are very serious issues that our community has to find a way to bind together and come up with some real solutions. So I really believe town hall meetings, people's involvement. Right now, I wish I could see the developers come before the people that want to develop the quarry. I would like to see everybody involved with what is about to happen to Pacifica stand up and be willing to answer some questions from the people.
Candidate Morton?
So the question is, how would I work to foster more community engagement? First, I want to say that I think the city has gotten really good over the last year at doing this. I don't know if y'all know or if you are on the email distribution, but there's a weekly city communication that goes out, and it's a really great source of information. So do yourself a favor and get signed up for that. Study sessions. There was a really wonderful sea level rise study session. There was a good turnout. I wish it was more, but it was really great. We got to sit in circles and talk with each other, talk with our neighbors. And what I found interesting was over the course of this campaign, I received in the mail from some wonderful man a poster, and you've probably all seen it, and it says "How to Build Community," right? And one of those. One of the little blurbs on there is know your neighbors. And there we were, sitting in a study session, meeting our neighbor. Oh, hey, I just bought a house around the block. Oh, really? No. I mean, it was this is where we live, and this is how amazing this town is. So how do we continue to foster that? I think Mayor DeGree does a really good job at that. If you attended her FAA forum on the airplane noise, she did a really good job at that. People need to feel heard, feel included, and want to be included. And this is a very passionate city. Also, seek to understand was another one of those things. So by becoming an active, engaged community member, and making sure that you talk to your neighbors, learn from new and uncomfortable angles. As a project manager, I'm pretty good at herding cats, so I think I would be able to try to bring some of that to the table as well.
So we've got a few questions here, and a couple of them do touch on topics that we've already covered, but they've got a little bit of a twist to them. So we'll go ahead and ask them as well. So the first relates to the Climate Action Plan. How can we meet the 2020 goals regarding greenhouse gases when you're against widening Highway 1? What are your alternative solutions? And I know there have been some touched on, but why don't you maybe go into that of meeting the greenhouse gas reduction goals? And we will start with candidate Martin.
Sure. Well, as a member of the Pacifica Climate Committee, we're working on this all the time. We're working on getting a bike and pedestrian committee together to try to move forward with getting people out of their cars onto their bikes, getting people into the same car. How do we make our public transportation better? I live in front of a bus stop, and I see 2 to 3 kids get on one of the smaller Samtrans buses every morning. Why are there only 3 kids there? So those are some of the things that the city would really greatly benefit from, working very closely with Samtrans on all this stuff.
Candidate Duffy, additional ideas?
Could you just repeat the question just as...
So it was related specifically to how can we meet the 2020 goals regarding greenhouse gases when you're against Highway 1 widening? What are your alternative solutions?
Like I said, mass transportation is a good idea. There's a lot of money, there's a lot of grants right now. The federal government even wants this reduction in greenhouse gases to happen. And there's ways we can plug into getting some funding for some of these things. I know our city has just switched over to a new electric company, which is going to be getting more of its energy. We are naturally, as Pacificans, currently or soon, going to be switched over to a much more green electricity at a cheaper price, which I thank the city for working on that. There's so many things that we could be doing, like Deirdre was saying, with a bikeable city. We could totally make a bikeable city. There's so many cities that are putting in those. I was in New York City, and there's these rent-a-bike stations, and they're everywhere, and people ride the bikes everywhere. It's something that could happen because I think people want it to happen. And I think that is the best way to get a successful program off the ground is people are concerned about it. People want to reduce our greenhouse gases. They want to start using a single vehicle for a single person needs to become a thing of the past. And I think we could do it here, if not anywhere else. I think we can do it in Pacifica, because I think that we have a natural love for nature here, just because we're so close to the ocean. And anyway, go on.
Thank you. Again, if you've got some questions that haven't been covered already and are on environmental issues, the focus of tonight's forum, please pass them to Ann or Jim. This one also touches on something that's been already talked about, but it's a little bit of a twist. So we talked about managed retreat with regard to sea level rise, but the question here is more specifically about protecting houses that are in the coastal zone, as well as businesses. So what will you do to protect our homes, businesses, and future here in the coastal zone? And this is written to you from a 40-year resident and homeowner in Pacifica with children who grew up cleaning the beaches, support the community, and also note that Holland has a lot of miles of beaches and homes. So what would you do to protect the businesses and things that are here today? And we'll start with candidate Duffy.
I understand having a house at risk and property at risk. If you've been here for 40 years, then like me, I personally watched several houses that used to be right here on the beach float out into the ocean one at a time. It was quite exciting. 40 years ago or 30 years ago when it happened. Actually, the golf course turned right back into a bird reserve. It was just amazing, the transformation. And back then, I don't even think one person thought of trying to save those houses. And I know that we live in a different world, and there's a lot more at risk, but we have to weigh I think we have to act for the good of the whole. And how would I try to save the houses? Yes. Well, when you have waves crashing over two-story buildings, and you have sinkholes that are eating gigantic rocks up within a 24-hour period, what can we really do other than build an $80 million seawall? So there are things at risk, but we cannot put one person or two persons' homes over they can't take priority over, don't you hate it when you're doing a debate and your tongue gets tied on live TV? I hate it when that happens. Anyway, I'll pass it on to you.
A quick toss over to candidate Martin.
To get the giggles. All right. So the question was, what do I plan to do to
How are you
save
going to protect
the home?
homes and businesses in the coastal zone?
Right. So we made national news this year. So we have a really unique opportunity to actually work at a level outside of the city on this. And I met with Senator Hill 2 weeks ago, and it's on the top of his legislative agenda. So as a city council person, I'd make sure that I'd be working closely with him and our city to, number one, making sure that we get some federal funding to fix up our sinkhole and protect the homes that are at risk right now. And then figure out what's next. And with a 4-year term, what will be next for me as a city council person would be getting a real study in place and really study where we are at risk and what do we do about it. I don't have the answers. I'll never claim to have all the answers, but together we can come up with a solution.
Another one that potentially ties into economic development, but a different twist. The question is, do either of you think that the library location is at risk? And while it was noted in the question that it's the Beach Boulevard Library, the proposed library location is actually on Palmetto. So do either of you think that the proposed library location is at risk is the question? And we'll start with candidate Martin.
Yeah, this came up. Well, this hasn't really been something that I've been talking about because I don't really think it's much my business. I think it's the community's business, and I'm really glad that we all get to vote on it. So I already shared with you my experience living in this area, cleaning this area. I run this area. My dog, I surf out here. There are some risks involved, sure. But I support whatever the community decides, and I'm really glad that we get to do that. So that's my answer.
Okay. Candidate Duffy?
Well, I've been really clear on this the whole time I've been coming to council meetings. Even the climate action plan that the city paid for, actually, the man that was sitting next to me that worked on it for 2 years said that this building and everything in it will be underwater 20 to 30 feet, something like that, in about 20 to 30 years. So to me, absolutely, I would not borrow money to build in an area. Now, you talk about managed retreat. It's one thing to not want to protect what is here, but to actually spend millions of dollars building here is quite the opposite. And these are loans we're talking about. It's a loan that the Pacificans will have to pay back. It will take 30 years to pay back the loan. The building might be underwater in 20. Talk about an underwater mortgage, huh? But yeah, no, I don't think it, to me, it's like putting all your eggs in one basket and then taking that basket and leaving it in a tsunami zone. I don't recommend it. I'm not for it. I'm against it.
Also ties into community consensus, but it comes with a bit of a different twist. There seems to be a diversity of opinion among environmentalists that could fragment our influence, their influence. Your comments, Candidate Duffy?
Could you say that again?
There seems to be a diversity of opinion among environmentalists that could fragment that influence. Your comments?
I don't understand the question. That could fragment, is that a part 2 of the other one?
That could fragment.
I can answer.
So again, it's talking about how there's a group of people that have historically maybe been in partnership on certain issues, and now even within that group of people that potentially issues are coming up that are dividing that voting block. And so do you have any comment about that?
Well, I think that there isn't a lot of actual division among real environmentalists or real scientists. I think that there are other opinions. Many times those opinions are bought and paid for. And so we have to be really careful whose opinion we're listening to. There's a lot of very, very, very good work that has been done by people who are in the position to do it, and I believe that we should listen to them when it comes to climate change, not others.
I think it's great. I love all of the passion. I don't care which direction it's in. I sit in, there's a guy in the audience here who does this all the time. Somebody will have a wild, harebrained idea in one of our meetings, and he'll go, "This is so great!" And I love that because it makes us think in other ways. And I've learned to not consider that fragmentation. I've learned to consider that as part of a thinking process. Think in different ways, think in different angles. That's what being a part of a intelligent, working, symbiotic community is.
All right. So if there's any last questions? Doesn't look that way. Ann and Jim are holding up cards, but we don't have any at this time. Okay, and we do have some others, but again, we were focusing on environmental issues for tonight's forum. So we're going to stick to that mode here as Pacifica's environmental family. So please let us take the opportunity to thank and applaud the candidates for their interest in public service. And we're an enthusiastic and energized citizenry, and I really appreciate the respect and consideration of all the different opinions that were shared tonight. A bit more about what's going to happen next. We are going to do the concluding comments here in a moment. We will let Peter Menard finish the comments for candidate Neihart, and we are also going to provide the questions that were asked to all the candidates tonight to candidates Vaterlos and Neihart, and if we receive answers from them, we will post them to the Pacifica Environmental Forum to the Pacifica Environmental Family website. So we will do that follow-up for the two who were unable to be here tonight. So now we will start our concluding remarks with candidate Martin.
So again, I want to thank to the PEF for everything you do for our community, for hosting this event tonight. I want to thank all the community leaders and the unsung heroes who are all here. I'm looking at almost all of you who I recognize. And I just kind of want to sell myself again. It's what you have to do. I'm smart. I'm knowledgeable. I don't know everything, but I know a lot of people who know a lot of stuff. So I know how to get good answers. I know how to listen and get good feedback. I'm a project manager, this is my background, so I'm goal-oriented. I'm focused on that goal, and I know how to get there in a step-by-step process. I've got my MBA with a concentration in management. I'd like to put that to work for you. I want to thank you all, because, again, it's not my campaign, it's our campaign. This is our community, and I want to thank you all for coming together. Continue to spread the word and get out the vote, and listen to all the candidates, please. Thank you.
I'm just thrilled to be here. I'm grateful to you for putting this on. I'm grateful for everybody that came. I'd be excited to be on the city council. I have worked hard my whole life, mostly raising children and taking care of the home, but that included a lot of economics and conflict management, a lot of that. And anyway, vote for me, Bridget Duffy. It's gonna be huge.
Now, we'll wrap up with comments for Mary Ann Nyhart.
Okay, I think I left off with discussing the applying for grants to fund the Coastal Trail connection to Devil's Slide County Park. So facilitating the successful completion of those applications and the assurance of a land transfer of 2 more parcels on Pedro Point will help Pacifica and the county assure completion of connections on the Coastal Trail. I enjoy preserving our coast and the continued work on our climate, which is why I partnered with other communities to advance our alternative fuel readiness plan. I also helped Pacifica be included with other cities in San Mateo County to submit for Department of Energy funding to increase our alternative fuel city fleet and 2 more charging stations open to the public, bringing the Peninsula clean energy ideas forward to the City Council early in the process so that alternative energy sources were available to more of our citizens. These are but a few of the items I've worked on to move our community toward a clean, sustainable, and improved future. I have been honored to work for the residents of Pacifica and support our community. Thank you, Pacifica educational family, and to the fellow candidates.
Okay. Thank you. And again, we will be providing the same list of 5 questions that we had to the other candidates and ask that they respond, and we'll post them to our website. Pacifica's environmental family was a group of environmentally aware Pacificans that formed Pacifica's environmental family in the late 1980s and were formally incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit in 1998. PEF proudly serves as the fiscal sponsor of local community projects including Pacifica Beach Coalition, Pacificans for a Scenic Coast, Pacifica Shorebird Alliance, and Valimar Conservators. And we were honored to be able to present information to you this evening. To wrap up, I'd like to share a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. "In a gentle way, you can shake the world." Remember that you can make a difference. Vote by mail or in person on November 8th. And again, let's give a round of applause to our candidates.
Thank you. That's great. It's better.